So I have the distinct honor of introducing this legend and cinema icon. I mean, I really can't say too much other than really she's the actress whose dialogue I memorized as a child and would say in the mirror over and over and over again. She's played countless iconic characters, but some of the favorites include Connie Marble, Taffy Davenport, Dottie Hinkle. She is a legend. She's a cinema icon. She is one of the stars of multiple Maniacs, the beautiful restored movie you're going to see tonight. And she's here in Seattle. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Mink Stoll.
Hi, everybody. Oh my God, I have done nothing but climb since I got to Seattle. Climb, climb, climb. Hi, honey. Hello, Seattle. As I sprinkle. This is a great city. You all have been so nice to me since I got here, so thank you very much for coming. And look how many people can stay up late in Seattle.
This is a real. These days, midnight movies don't get these kind of turnouts.
I'm
you guys
really
are
impressed.
True fans.
I guess you all get to sleep in tomorrow, right? Okay, I am.
Mink, shall we sit down and have a conversation?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Remember, this movie was made 47 years ago, so.
Well, I think
And
that's.
I was actually an adult, which is really frightening.
You were an adult.
Yeah, I was legal.
Okay, because that.
Yeah.
How old were you when you made multiple Maniacs?
21 or 22.
So a baby, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, younger. Yeah, oh, yes, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, the movie, you shot it in 1969?
Yes, we did.
Most
of the people in this, I mean, your parents weren't born when this movie was made. So.
To say that you guys were ahead of your time is an understatement.
Yes.
What did you think when John would present you with a script and you'd read it for the first time?
Well, back in those days, we didn't get full scripts. And we didn't have copy machines. So actually, I have, and John and I both have handwritten copies, you know, pages of this script. Some of them in my handwriting and some of them in John's, because I get production credit, a production assistant credit in this movie for helping to, make copies of the script to give to people. But we would just get like the scenes that we were going to shoot the next weekend. You know, we would get together on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, and John would give us the script pages of what we were going to shoot on the weekend, and we would just get together, and John would read everybody's parts exactly the way that he wanted them done, which was exactly the same for everybody, and then, and that was how he directed, and everybody was, we all spoke in very large italics. So, but that was what we would do, and then we wouldn't know what was going to happen next until the following week. I mean, we would have a general idea, but we didn't have our scripts, which had to be memorized, word for word.
Yeah, I've heard that he is a stickler for every single word must be exactly as written.
Every single word, every comma, well, there were no pauses. I mean, if you watch this movie, you'll know, for the first 7 movies that we made, there are no pauses in the dialogue. There's everybody just talks constantly, rapidly. Because he writes so many words, as you call it, and as they say, and blah, blah. I mean, it's just insane. But yeah, he knew every word that we were supposed to do. And the scenes were all shot in master shots, which, there were no cutaways. So if a scene is 10 minutes long, we started, and then 10 minutes later, we finished. And if you flubbed a line at 9.5 minutes, the scene had to get started over from the beginning, which would make John unhappy. So none of us ever made that mistake. Yeah. What's that? That's another whole story. Yeah.
Were you there?
Yeah.
I like, he's like, except for Edith Massey.
Well, no,
I'm like, who's that? Were you part of Multiple Maniacs? But, maybe he knows.
Yeah. Well, there are, it's been published that Edie had some trouble with female trouble.
With Female Trouble.
had
She has some pretty
She has some
extensive
lengthy
lines in
speeches
Multiple
in
Maniacs.
Female Trouble, though, that she...
Was Multiple Maniacs the first movie you did with Edie?
Yes. And the bar that she works in this movie is the bar where she actually worked. I mean, that's where we met her. She was a bartender.
At Pete's.
At Pete's Hotel in this waterfront neighborhood in Baltimore. Yeah.
This is
And
Edie from
we would
Down
go in there,
Pete's.
and she sometimes, when she would get drunk, she would just whip her tits out and put them on the bar. Aren't they pretty? You know, she would say, they're so pretty. It's like, actually, put them away, please. Please, put them away.
In this film, you guys all play multiple parts.
Yeah, when you watch this film, you will notice that there are 12 people that are in every crowd scene in different costumes. I mean, it's literally the same 10 or 12 people over and over and over again, you know, looking slightly different. So yeah, it's fun that way. I mean, you'll see Divine and Edith Massey both at the crucifixion scene, you know, and the costuming in that movie, in that scene, was sheets. You know, we're all in sheets.
Well, it's like the restoration. I got to see it a few weeks ago when it premiered in San Francisco, and I had this like VHS copy that some of you hardcore fans might have had that was like bootlegged and, you know, was already degraded, and the crucifixion, the Stations of the Cross was very blown out, and so watching the restoration print, I was like, oh my God, that's Mink. Like, I didn't know it was you in those scenes.
I play Veronica. Yes.
You play Veronica, right?
Yes, I wipe the face of Jesus with my veil. Yes.
And you're also in the Cavalcade of Perversion.
I'm a customer at the Cavalcade of Perversion. I am a spectator, and I'm wearing a little blonde curly wig and a little puff sleeve dress. And I was actually living at my mom's then. And I came down, I was waiting for John to come pick me up, because that was another thing that he did, is he drove around, picked up all the actors, and drove us to the set, and then at the end of the day, he'd drive us all home again. But I'm waiting for John to pick me up, and I'm looking in the mirror with this little blonde wig and this hairband, and my mother's going, oh, Nancy, you look so pretty. Why can't you look like that all the time? And I said, because I would rather get on your nerves, Mom.
Now, when this movie came out, was it the kind of thing that you hid from your parents? I mean, how?
I hid nothing from my mom. I did not encourage her to see it. She saw the very first film that I did with John, which was not Eat Your Makeup, it was called Roman Candles. And it's the second movie he ever made. And there's a scene in that movie where a nun wearing full makeup and a priest are smoking cigarettes, drinking beer, and making out. And my mother, as a staunch Catholic, was highly offended, so she didn't see another film until Polyester.
Wow.
And I was fine with that. Yeah.
If she was offended by that.
Yes. Oh, she was
oh
very.
My God.
Oh, no,
Good thing she did not see Multiple
no.
Maniacs.
She would never have let her see this.
So
but I didn't hide what I was doing.
It's actually like a really good segue into probably, I think, one of the most important and iconic scenes ever shot on film, which is your rosary job that you administer
Spoiler
to
alert.
Divine. Yes, I apologize for anyone, but we're doing the interview before the movie because it's a midnight movie, but we have to talk about the rosary job and what it was like shooting that in a church in Baltimore.
It was one of the happiest days of my life. I grew up a Catholic, and by the time I was making this movie, I was so over it and so pissed. I felt that I had been totally conned by Catholicism, and this was such a great way to get back at it, to give the finger to the Pope and the church and everybody involved. So I was really excited about it. But what was really funny, I mean, first of all, Divine's wearing pantyhose. I mean, there's actually no penetration. But when we finished the scene, John said, wait a minute, I just have one more thing I want to do. And he comes over and he takes out a candy bar called Fudge, and he wipes it on the rosary. So when you see me wiping the rosary beads, I'm actually wiping off the fudge.
Yeah, I mean, for a Catholic school kid who discovered it growing up in Maryland a few decades later, I have to say it was incredibly effective as far as my indoctrination.
I was very happy. It was lovely.
It's still inspiring, and I think one of the most punk rock things I've ever seen. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. It was
yes.
totally my pleasure. The other thing is that back then I didn't have contact lenses, and I am totally bat blind. So when I'm coming out of the confessional, I can't see Divine. I have no idea where in the church Divine is, except I know how many rows away. So as I'm walking down the aisle, I'm actually counting rows with my hand. Because I really, that's why I wore glasses in Pink Flamingos. It wasn't just for a fashion, it was so that I could see what I was doing.
Well, it worked. Connie Marble's cat-eye glasses are, pretty iconic.
I still have them.
Really?
They're broken, they're missing rhinestones, but I do have them. Yes.
They belong in the Smithsonian, I think, quite frankly.
I'm going to call them later. Hey, I have these glasses I know you're really going to want.
So, well, since we're, you have done so many movies, and we have such a short amount of time to talk, I did want to talk a little bit about Pink Flamingos, which followed Multiple Maniacs. And Multiple Maniacs really gave way to Pink Flamingos.
There's some sound. Multiple Maniacs was our first talkie. We had started out in 8mm and then 16mm no sync sound, and then so Multiple Maniacs was a huge step up for us. Which was really kind of great. It was the first time we actually had dialogue.
And with Pink Flamingos, it was the first color film.
It was first color. And still 16mm.
And Pink Flamingos was really the one that became the midnight hit.
Yes.
But I feel like Multiple Maniacs in a lot of ways is a lot of fans haven't seen it, because it predates.
You're in for a treat.
Pink Flamingos, yes.
I hope you like tits. You're not going to see mine, but there are a lot of tits in this movie. They're not mine.
Definitely a large group of men who didn't react too enthusiastically.
I know, wrong crowd.
Tonight. But they were kind of like, tits.
Well, there might be some women in the audience.
Yeah, exactly. Now, at what point did you guys get the discussion that the finale of the film would include Lobstora?
What discussion? There was no discussion. We didn't discuss things, Joshua. You know that. We were told. This actually, Lobstora was made by Vincent Peranio, who went on to be John's production designer for everything that followed, and did a brilliant job. I mean, he should have won an Academy Award for Pink Flamingos, and for Female Trouble, and for Desperate Living. He should have gotten a triple award for that. And then he went on to do The Wire. He was the production designer for The Wire, if any of you have seen that. And I mean, he's done lots and lots of work since then. But he made Lobstora, spoiler alert, and you can actually now see him in Lobstora. You can see him working it.
Right, that's like with the restoration comes some detail that we previously didn't get to see, right? So, watching it now, it's like this beautiful black and white, like masterpiece.
It really looks good. It looks like we had money.
And you can hear things. Yes. John was saying that
there's dialogue that he could hear that he's never heard.
Yeah. That's how good the restoration is.
Yes, it's really good. And they actually, Criterion asked him if he wanted them to leave all the, the smudges and the dirt and the splice marks, and he said no. I want it to look good. He said I wanted it to look good from the very beginning. Just when you've got 16 cents to make a movie, that's what you get.
Right. And with the church scene, because it is so scandalous and it breaks like every rule in Catholicism, how did you guys negotiate that?
Well, apparently John had met this priest. I don't know where. I don't know how. And actually, none of us can remember what church it was because we don't go. So So, we don't remember that the church that you see us outside is not the church that we filmed inside. The magic of cinema. But I have no idea. John and I were talking about it recently. We couldn't remember where we filmed the inside. But apparently, the guy let us do it. The priest let us do it. But he didn't have a clue what we were doing, because there's another guy in the scene. There's a couple in the scene, a man and a woman, who, get to look at us scornfully. But that guy, while we were doing our scene, while we were doing the rosary job scene, Jack Walsh is his name, he had the priest in the back talking politics. So, we weren't observed. And it wasn't until he saw the movie that he realized what we had done.
Wow.
And, he didn't talk to me, so I thought he was fine.
So John would pick you up and drop you off. So this is before
absolutely.
you guys were roommates. That was later.
Yeah, we were roommates during Pink Flamingos. We actually shared the Marble home.
Yeah, did you know that?
Yeah,
John and Mink lived in
lived.
Connie Marble's house.
Yes.
So
3900 Greenmount. Yes, we lived there.
Yeah, that's good behind the scenes trivia. So in all your, and I've asked you this before, but I feel like it's an important question. In all your incredible characters' dialogue, there's so many iconic lines. Do you have a favorite?
Good night, books.
Oh, no, it's not. She says
It's
that.
one of them. It's
movie.
one of my favorites. It truly is.
That is not.
That was from All About Evil, directed and written and produced by this wonderful person
thank
right here. Which we came here to Seattle to
Yes.
show.
Yes,
so I've
that's
been
right.
here before. We've been on this stage before.
Right, that's
Yes,
right. It
to
premiered in Seattle here at the
Yes,
Egyptian.
at the Egyptians.
Okay, let's say
Okay, we'll go on.
besides that line.
Okay.
But thank you.
You're welcome. I've always liked the line, fat. Very, very fat.
That's a Taffy Davenport
It's a Taffy
line.
Davenport
Yes.
line, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I like the Ms. Sandstone.
Yeah, have a nice day.
yeah, all of
yes,
that.
That's very sweet of you to incorporate that.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes.
I've ripped off
I
many
do like-
of
and
your
Miss
lines.
Sandstone actually was one of my best friends when I was a child.
Miss Sandstone, yes.
Yeah, Nancy Crystal. She and I were best friends at the age of 6. Yes. And then she moved away, and
Miss Sandstone
Miss
did.
Sandstone moved away.
Well, what's so weird about this is one of my best friends in high school moved into Miss Sandstone's house. That's how
true.
small Maryland is.
Yes.
So we're very connected.
Grew into,
bizarre ways.
which is right around the corner from where I live now.
It's super weird. Baltimore is small. Yeah. So what have you felt with this movie being, you told me that you hadn't seen it in 20 years.
I hadn't seen it
What's
in
it like
really a long
watching
time.
it again?
Well, for me, it's very different. This necklace will not stay put.
Actually, who made that necklace?
Susan Lowe made this necklace, and she's in this movie quite a lot. She's
Do you
the
guys
first,
know who Sue
Susan
Lowe is?
She played Mole McHenry in Desperate Living, the wrestler. Yeah, and she's in this movie a lot. She's part of the cavalcade of perversion.
What does she do?
I can't remember. She might have her arm. I think she has her armpits licked.
Yeah, I think she does.
I think that's what she does. Yes.
So is it, watching these old movies, like, is it
for
sort
me,
of like,
it's
this is your
really-
life, Mink Stoll?
Well,
like,
kind of. We didn't actually live like that. But I knew every single person in this movie, and many of them are gone. So for me, it's like, oh, golly, I had forgotten he was in it. But it was just, it's really, so for me, it's kind of bittersweet. To see this. I miss Cookie. I miss David. David Lockery's in it, and he's fabulous. And he was so ahead of his time. The way he looks in this movie is how he looked in 1969. He wasn't wearing quite the same clothes, but his hair was exactly how he wore it. Nobody did that in 1969. It was really, he was way ahead of his time.
Yeah, you all were. That's the thing. Watching it recently, I was watching it, and of course, growing up in Maryland, my partner and I talked afterwards, like, we can't imagine making that movie now. And these guys were fearlessly making this film in Baltimore in 1969, which is just, it's incredible.
Well, mostly I think these people are going, 1969, was that before or after World War II?
It was a long time
It was
ago.
a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Now, we wanted to open it up to the audience because one of the things we know is because we've known each other so long, I don't always ask the questions you really want to know. So, you Mink Stole fans out there, what would you like to ask Mink Stole? Raise your hands, and I will point at you, and then I'll repeat the question so everyone can hear it. Does anyone have a question? Yes.
Say what? Thank you. That's it?
That's a statement.
That's not a question. It was easy. I just memorized them and said them. Yeah. Yeah, but I was used to it by that time. I worked with John Waters. Desperate Living was my 85th movie with him. So, I mean, I was completely, well, not my 8th, it was like my 7th or 8th. I mean, it was, I was completely used to everything he did. Thank you. So the question is, would I like some money from you? Yes, thank you.
Yes, she'll accept cash
Thank you.
check. Anyone else? Question? Yes, you in the middle. Who
Well,
is
me,
more
because I'm
filthy?
still alive. So I'm the filthiest person alive.
That's good answer.
Except I'm actually so not. I am, I don't even swear most of the fucking time.
It is kind of weird sometimes when you're out with Mink walking around the world and, she presents as very normal and not someone who's made all the movies that she has necessarily. And then there'll be that person who thinks they recognize her and kind of gives a second look and then kind of goes, no. And keeps walking and I'm like, it is her.
What my favorite though is I will go into a restaurant or I'll go into a coffee shop someplace, and I look like this, and I'll see somebody there with like bright red hair like my Connie Marble hair, and they look at me like, oh, who is this straight bitch? And I go, oh, no. I leave it alone. I leave it alone. But I think you use party colors. I had to use ink.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, they dyed their hair with magic
ink.
markers.
David's blue hair was magic marker, and my hair was red ink. It was called Quink. It was something, accountants used it.
Yeah.
It was something, truly, came in a little, a diamond-shaped blue bottle.
Crazy.
Yes. I mean, you people have it so easy.
Any more questions? Yes, in the back over here.
Oh, I never go to the movies. I wouldn't know the answer to that. No, that's not true. I do go to the movies, but I actually don't. I think John is unique. I really don't think there's anybody quite like him. I think, as far as, I think Joshua comes close in wealth of ideas, in the stage shows in particular, because you've done more of those than you've done films. But John is unique. I don't think there's anybody that really, the problem that I have, I do a lot of theater, and even if I'm doing Tennessee Williams, they go, this is just like if Tennessee Williams wrote a John Waters play. I'm kind of constantly compared. Anything that I do, John Waters' name usually shows up in the review before mine does. But I think he's unique. I don't think there is anybody that's doing what he did. Or that is...
And I think what John did in particular is to create something that's probably, like many people in this room, I'm just one of many, many people who was super inspired by what you and Divine and John created and kind of showed us that there was this other world and this other way to see the world. And it made, making fun of straight society, delicious and wonderful and witty and satirical and wicked in a way that maybe has inspired a lot of us to do, whatever.
And when we say straight, it wasn't a sexualized straight. It was the people that didn't smoke marijuana, that didn't use drugs, that didn't have the any kind of alternative life at all. So that's what we meant by straight. You could be gay and straight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Just go down the street.
Yes.
There's plenty of those, even in Seattle. Yeah. I think you're...
we were definitely, we were very much a part of the drug culture. We were not using... we weren't, shooting heroin, but we were taking a lot of hallucinogenics. We took out LSD frequently. We smoked a lot of marijuana. So there was a lot of that going on, which I think when we smoked dope, though, when we took acid and smoked dope, we did it to increase creativity, not to obliterate ourselves. So, and it was very helpful. I'm so happy I was part of the psychedelic generation. Because you all don't have that quite so much anymore, and it's really kind of, and the time that we made this movie, you have to remember Nixon was president, the Vietnam War was going on, there was the civil rights movement, there was a lot going on in the country, so this was a way of our being sort of political, and because we were certainly anti-religious and we were anti-conservatism, we were anti-straight society, so it was a way of participating in being on the right side of what was going on as opposed to the wrong side. It was a very different time. And by the way, I want to tell any of you millennials out there, I have to get this in because it's important. Maybe boring, but important. Vote. I don't care. You have got to vote. And if any of you think that because Bernie Sanders didn't win the nomination, it's not your job to vote for Hillary, fuck you. I have lived through Nixon, I've lived through Reagan, I have lived through both Bushes. Just because you don't get exactly what you don't want doesn't mean you don't participate. So there you go, that's it. That's my polemic for the evening. Thank you very much.
I guess wrapping things up,
On a lighter note.
I'm not sure how you feel about this. No, I did want to ask, because I don't know this answer, and I'm not sure, I'm sure we've talked about it before, but you've played so many iconic characters and in so many different movies. Do you have a favorite character?
I love Taffy.
Oh, Taffy.
Taffy Davenport. Because I was Taffy Davenport. I mean, John based a lot of Taffy on his own childhood. He did play car wreck. Not like that, but I mean, he would get his parents to buy him new toy cars, and then he would go out and crash them together. So that was part of it, but also part of it was me, just being a big brat, because my family always told me I was a brat. So, and I was. But Taffy, to me, Taffy was not a bad child. Taffy was a misunderstood child just trying to get some love and attention from her mother.
It's true,
right? And so, I've always felt a great empathy with Taffy.
And for me, Taffy has your favorite line, fat, very fat.
Fat.
And
very
my
fat.
favorite line, I wouldn't suck your lousy dick if I was suffocating and there was oxygen in your balls. I mean, has there ever been better dialogue than that?
Grammatically incorrect as it is.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I can't thank you enough for making the movies that you've made.
Thank you.
I know I speak for a lot of people in the audience when I say these movies, you and the Dreamlanders, changed our lives.
Well,
and
you guys have changed mine. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I would do without you. You make me very happy. So thank you.
Seattle,
Thank you.
once more, let's hear it for the legendary Mink Stole.
Thank you. Joshua Grinnell.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the restored print. Yes, thank you to the Egyptian and Clinton and everyone asking us to stay.
It's been wonderful. You've all been so sweet.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Enjoy
so much.
Multiple Maniacs.
I'm not staying. I got to go home and go to sleep. Past my
Good night.
bedtime. Enjoy it. Thank you.